Everyone has a story. Stories have power. They help us understand. Jessop's Journal is a collection of powerful, positive, and inspirational stories. It's time for Jessop's Journal.
Hi, I'm Doug Jessop. Welcome to Jessop's Journal. In this episode, I visit with powerful, positive, and inspirational people that have some pretty incredible stories. This first one, Katia, okay? That's not the name that you're gonna know her by, but Katia is gonna be talking with us. And yes, she does entertain us with some of her music. And okay, I'll tell you, it's Blank and the Partygrass Boys.
Staring at the sunset, just another night on the road. And it feels so good that you won't be there when I get home.
We've all bought something online. You're going to want to thank, or not so thank, today's guest, Roy Banks. He's the guy that came up with how to do credit card processing online. Go figure.
And I said, oh my goodness, this is going to be revolutionary. We're actually going to create a new medium in which people can conduct business. And we're going to make things that are accessible, that were once accessible to people just in a small local community, available to the world.
We also visit with a gentleman that helps you breathe better, Nate Jones.
Clear's not a drug, it's a hygiene tool. It doesn't kill, it doesn't, it washes away.
But first, Katia Racine, also known as Pixie. Hello, Katia.
Hello, Doug.
It's time to sign into Jessop's Journal. I've got Katia Racine, but she's known by something a little different. So, do tell.
Yeah, most people I think normally just call me Pixie.
Pixie, okay.
Yes.
Katia Pixie. Why? What's the where'd you come up with that one?
It really just, my mom always called me a little fairy child.
Ah.
And then this is a really hippie story. This is
Okay.
a very woo story. But when the Rainbow Gathering was in Utah, I decided to go, and my partner at the time called me a pixie princess, which I hated because I am not a princess.
Okay.
Anyway, so mom called me fairy child, he called me pixie princess, and I went to the Rainbow Gathering, walking through this beautiful forest in the middle of nowhere, Utah, and started talking to a woman I'd never met, and we did not introduce ourselves to each other. And she stops me in the middle and she goes, "Stop. Do you have a rainbow name?" I said, "No," and she goes, "You're Pixie." And I sort of just went,
Well, la-di-da.
I am Pixie.
Awesome.
And yeah, and then it fed into naming my band about a week later, and it has just really dug its heels in and stuck since then. So much that some people think it is my birth name.
Yeah, well, it could be. I mean, you go into all these festivals, you never know. So,
Yes.
So talk to me about growing up.
I grew up in Maryland, about 45 minutes outside of Baltimore and DC. Playing outside, not having a lot of moneyed luxuries, but really just always finding an outlet in the arts, which my parents were incredibly encouraging of. Fun thing about our house on the farm, we have multiple different buildings, and we have this little outbuilding that's just one room and 2 floors, and it's red, and we just call it the Little House.
Okay.
And it sort of became my whole town's, for a group of us, it just became where we all ended up, because we didn't really have anywhere else to go to just be weird artists. And we would all just hang out in this little house late into the night. It was far enough away from the house that it didn't bother my mom that we were making a ton of noise. And we would just paint and make up songs all night long. I think it's really where I learned to love collaborative art and improvisation and singing with people. It's also where we coined the phrase, "You can't photograph magic," because so often it'd be the middle of the night and we would be singing and playing guitar, and we'd create this incredible song in the heat of the moment, and then it would end and none of us could remember how it happened, how it went.
Yeah.
And nobody had recorded it.
Of course not.
And it was just gone forever to the other. It was a gift, and then it was gone.
How in the world did you get from Maryland to Utah?
A boy.
A boy. Well,
A
yeah.
boy.
Okay, fine.
So my boyfriend, when I was in college, we went to different universities. He graduated a year early, moved to Boston with me. I went to Northeastern University where I studied theater performance and also religious studies. After I graduated, I had quit my band. I didn't really have a solid career at the time, and he wanted to go be a wilderness therapy field instructor.
Okay.
And the school he wanted to teach at was out here. And then I got addicted to the mountains, and then I got addicted to the desert. And now I'm still here, pushing 8 years later.
So now you've got a band
I do.
and you're in music.
I am.
Now, is that your full-time gig?
It is. It's my main gig. I do have some side gigs,
Okay.
but music is my main career.
Okay, so, and the name of the band?
My band is Pixie and the Partygrass Boys.
Okay, now I'm going to tease you about this. Pixie, I get. Okay. Partygrass. Okay, I wasn't exactly sure what I was going, okay. Hi, Pixie, dude. No, wasn't sure what we were going to say.
We get that a lot. Partygrass.
Party, yeah. How did you come up with the name?
We had already booked gigs and we didn't have a band name. We'd been playing with things and nothing was sticking. And our bass player was really into blank and the blank names.
Okay.
So he was playing with all sorts of things, Katia and the this and that. He actually said Katia and the KGB at one point, which no. And somebody said, okay, well, what kind of music do we play? And we said, party bluegrass? It's partygrass. It's partygrass. It's not jam grass. It's not traditional bluegrass. And then somebody said, yeah, okay, Katia and the Partygrass Boys. And I had just had the Pixie nickname, and I said, well, what about Pixie and the Partygrass Boys? And it flows, it's fun to say, felt good, and then it stuck. And then we wrote a theme song that sings it, so.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You want to give me a couple bars?
Sure, it goes, we like chickens and we like fun. Let's have whiskey with everyone. Pixie and the Partygrass Boys. So we used to literally end every single set playing that song. Every set.
So, Pixie, I get. Partygrass, I get. Boys.
Yes.
Not all boys.
We started the band, just the boys and I.
Right.
And pretty soon after our sound started to solidify, it became really clear to me that we're missing a fiddle. And I think we're missing another female voice. When we're singing harmonies. You know, in school, I was a soprano, but I am no longer a soprano. Strong alto, strong mezzo, I'm a belter. It's like we need that high harmony and we really need that singing, floaty voice of a violin. So I'd been telling the boys, because they were way more in the scene, they're from here, so they knew people way better than I did. And one day, Ben was at our friend's house and they were having a jam session in the living room, and totally not creepy at all, he took a video and he sent it to me, and it said, look what I found. And it was Amanda singing and playing fiddle. And she is undeniably gifted.
Oh, yeah.
And that day, he invited her to come sit in on a gig with us, because we love to have friends sit in. We have percussion players sit in, we have horn players sit in, and he invited her to come play with us, and it's kind of just been history. She sort of started playing with us. We couldn't tell if she was super into it. I've told Amanda this story, I have. We played quite a few sets with her, but we weren't actually sure if she was in the band. So Ben and I kind of crafted this like sneaky way of asking her that wouldn't feel too much like a breakup for us if she said no.
Okay.
But we told everybody we were gonna book studio time and said it was gonna cost this much per person, and she said, okay, I'm in. And we were like, she's in the band.
There you
She's
go.
down to pay for studio time.
Somebody needs to,
She's
right?
been in there since then.
You performed for Jessop'S Jukebox, California, okay?
Yes.
I'm from California, so I mean, that perked my interest. What's California about?
We played a festival in Northern California called High Sierra, and Zach Downs, our bass player, camped in some poison oak. And he got a very bad rash. He was an itchy mess for weeks, and we were somewhere on the road. And I was playing my ukulele, and I was playing some very traditional bluegrass chords, And Zach's itching his arm and he starts going, I am going to kill you, California. And I went, wait, that was very catchy. And I started singing it, and that became the chorus. I wrote the rest about a guy that dumped me and moved to California.
Oh, well, la-di-da. Katia, how do you want to leave your mark?
The nicest thing that someone ever said to me was that he felt like I was a source of home for people, not just for him, but that, I'm getting all emotional just thinking about it, but that I had the ability to move through the world as a place that felt like home for people. And I hope that through my art and my community endeavors and my music, I can just help people be true to themselves and feel home.
One of my favorite inspirational quotes is from Audrey Hepburn. She said, "To plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow." Everyone has a story, and sometimes those stories are told through music. It's time for Jessop's Jukebox. Ladies and gentlemen, with the song California, here's Pixie and the Partygrass Boys.
1, 2, 3, 4! Baby, you can get high, yeah, you can get stoned. Baby, you can go hard and I'll just go home. You can go find another lover, I'll find my own. When the morning comes, we won't be alone. I am going to kill ya. I am going to kill ya, California. Ooh, California. I am going to kill ya. I am going to kill ya, California. Ooh, California. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'll never write another song about you, let me tell you why. Won't give you the sick satisfaction that you're still on my mind. You could fill a million rivers with the tears I cried. Oh baby, but I'll save them all, I'm gonna drown you in and leave you behind. Oh, I am going to kill ya. I am going to kill ya, California. Ooh, California. I am going to kill ya. I am going to kill ya, California. Ooh, California. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. All right, folks, let's have a little fun, shall we? Sunset's just another
I'm the TV hat guy. All my hats have a story. This hat is called the Glen, named after someone very special to me, as well as the Glens of Scotland. Using a credit card online, you take it for granted. This next guy is the person that helped make it happen. Roy, it's time to sign into Jessop's journal. With me today, Mr. Roy Banks. Roy, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Now, just so you know, it's this guy right here, that if it wasn't for him and what he did, you would not be paying for stuff on Amazon. just saying. So we're going to get into that a little bit. But Roy, number one, I looked at your profile, and there is so much stuff to talk about. I'm not even quite sure where to start. So let's kind of start from the beginning. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Amsterdam.
Ah.
In a little village called Zeust. My father was in the Air Force, met my mother in Germany, was reassigned to Amsterdam, and voila, that's where I was born.
Okay, so then, military guys, it's kind of hard to pin down, quote unquote, where you grew up, but was there a particular place you called home?
Yeah, we lived in a number of countries, spent time in the Philippines as well, lived in a number of different states, just as a typical military brat, you just kind of follow your father wherever he goes. Mm-hmm. Actually loved the idea of being transferred every 3 to 4 years, got to know a lot of different people, cultures. But after my dad retired from the military, we moved to Great Falls, Montana, which is where one of the places my dad was stationed during his time in the Air Force. And that's where I went to high school and ended up graduating from high school there. So I think Great Falls, Montana is kind of home and where I was kind of, raised.
A lot of the time when you get military families, you kind of follow in the footsteps. So did you by chance join the Air Force?
I actually served in the United States Navy. I was going to college at the time, and I had recently gotten married, had a child, and you know what? I was working 3 jobs, going to school, not doing anything very well. Trying to put food on the table and trying to turn in good grades in the classroom and trying to be a husband and a father just wasn't working. And so financially we were strapped. My son at the time, a young infant, went into the hospital. We racked up a lot of, he had a respiratory infection and racked up a lot of bills. And so I just felt like, you know what? I'm familiar with the service. And I woke up one morning and I said, I'm gonna join the service. And went into the Air Force recruiter, and he told me I couldn't get in for 9 months. And I was like destitute. I needed to get into the service. And so on my way out from the Air Force recruiter's office, the Navy recruiter stops by, and he had already known. He said, couldn't get in, huh? And I said, yeah. He says, I can get you into the Navy in 2 months. And I said, sold. So anyway, I proceeded to join the Navy at that point.
So what did you do in the Navy?
I was a software engineer in the Navy.
So you've been a first as a African-American CEO at a variety of companies.
Yeah, I have.
There's one that I want to talk about. Okay, I know that you're the CEO of Weave right now, which is pretty cool. We did a story on that. But there's this one company that I went going, oh dang, I got to talk to this guy. Okay, so Authorize.net. Now, for the people out there that don't know, Authorize.net is the guys that basically came up with e-commerce. How in the world was that like?
Well, I'm not the founder of Authorize.net, but I was part of the early management team of that company. A gentleman by the name of Jeff Knowles was responsible for starting the business and had the vision for making it possible, listen to this, making it possible to accept a credit card payment on a website. That's something that we take for granted today, right?
Exactly.
It's like, you think that it's ubiquitous, it's expected. But in the mid to late 90s, that was not something that a lot of us were familiar with. In fact, when I first was recruited to join this young startup, I thought it was ridiculous. I'm thinking, wow, why would anybody want to do that? Because at that point in time, the internet was really just kind of like a brochure site. It was like where people went to learn and obtain information. And in fact, I rebuffed them the first time they came at me. That shows you how things have changed for me because I don't know that I was fearful of technology, but I didn't appreciate it for what it could do. And So after my first refusal, they came back at me. A good friend of mine named John Bodine really worked hard to have me come on board. And I saw the vision and I said, oh my goodness, this is going to be revolutionary. We are actually going to create a new medium in which people can conduct business. And we're going to make things that are accessible, that were once accessible to people just in a small local community, available to the world. And so the technology was basically to make it possible to enter a credit card number into a web form, take that information and process it the same way that a retail point of sale machine processes at a retail store and authorizes a transaction. And that company, we watched, we went from hundreds of customers to thousands of customers to 10,000s of customers, from hundreds of transactions to thousands of transactions to millions of transactions and billions of dollars that we processed. And we would like to think that AuthorizeNet was, we put the E in e-commerce. We were part of there were other companies doing it, but we literally became one of the more successful early pioneers that helped really transcend into this new digital economy.
Is brick and mortar dead?
Not at all. I think the thing that, I'm the CEO of Weave, and I can tell you that, our whole business is servicing brick and mortar, and our business is growing, and we see certain verticals thriving. And the reason for that is because they adapt. They leverage technology to serve and meet the communication and engagement and experience needs of customers. And so the brick and mortar companies that don't survive are the ones that fail to adapt to technology.
Good point. So Roy Banks, how do you want to leave your mark?
I want people to remember me and to know that the work that I've done came because I'm not perfect, but I strive for perfection. I tell people I make a lot of mistakes. I do, I make a lot of mistakes. I'm about personal refinement, trying to improve every day. Just to get personal just for a moment, Doug, I used to have an anger problem. Had to go to therapy. That's, to submit yourself to mental health guidance and support is, that's a tough thing for a lot of people, because you don't want people to think negatively of you, but I'm proud of the therapy that I've received and the outcome of that. Do I still get mad and angry? Yeah, but I'm better for it. But I'm trying to be better every day, and I just want people to know that I believe that when you think of me, it's not my success, it's not the financial rewards that I've had, it's the way that I've been able to help others fulfill and live up to their potential. Because that's what I believe we're all here for, is to uplift others. And it sounds very trite, sounds very parochial, but at the end of the day, if I can just lift one person up and make them better and help them, whether it's personally or professionally, boy, if that's what I am, if that's the sum of everything that I've ever done, I will have been the most richest man ever, because man, there's nothing better than to leave an indelible mark on an individual and lifting someone else up that didn't believe in themselves, but saw in you what they could become. What a beautiful way to really pay it forward and to pay it back. So that's how I leave my mark.
Life is never boring. Sometimes you have something I like to call the wonderful world of regret. If you've ever had a tattoo or permanent makeup that you've fallen out of love with, the folks at Tattoo Away have come up with a pretty cool system that literally removes the ink out of the skin. You heard me talk about washing your hands and your nose. It's called hygiene. Well, the expert is the guy that's up next, Nate Jones.
Hygiene is really the process and the concept of cleaning.
Nathan Jones is the president and founder of a nasal hygiene company called Clear. He told me about the pioneer of hand washing, Dr. Ignaz Semmelweis.
When people go to the doctors now, it's common practice that they're either changing their gloves or washing their hands between sick patients. Nowadays, they usually just change their gloves between all their sick patients. But that really didn't even become common practice until the late 1990s.
1990s?
Yeah. they had, Semmelweis wrote his first paper about washing your hands between sick patients in 1848, and it was 150 years later when hearing that it was accepted and became standard of care here in the U.S.
Okay.
It was 1998.
What the?
And that was driven by the HIV and the Hep C crisis.
Oh, okay. Because I'm going, what in the heck is going on?
The surge in COVID has triggered a number of studies.
The first one that really kind of got us thinking was the one that was in the New England Journal of Medicine, which they actually showed, and that was in March of 2020, so right in the beginning. And since right in the beginning, they've known that close to 90% of the viral load of the SARS-CoV-2 virus is located in the nose and the upper airway.
So if 90% of the viral load is in your nose, what can you do to reduce the viral load?
Oh, there's a lot of things. I mean, there have been papers published using iodine. There's papers published that are using nitric oxide. There's papers that have been published using nebulized alcohol. I mean, there's a bunch of them. We've had papers published using our product to reduce the viral load, and we've shown that. I mean, there have been studies done at the University of Tennessee that showed that xylitol blocks the ability of the SARS-CoV-2 virus to adhere to the tissue.
How does Clear work?
Clear's not a drug. It's a hygiene tool. It doesn't kill. It doesn't, it washes away. That's what it does. It helps thin out your mucus, helps clean it out so the cilia move faster, helps speed up the mucociliary clearance cycle, trapping more bacteria, viruses, pollen, dander, irritants, dust, smoke.
In our last story, we talked about nasal hygiene. Clear nasal spray washes away the bacteria in your nose and helps you breathe better. So come on, join me, take a deep breath, and relax. Thanks for watching this episode of Jessop's Journal. It's my honor to tell positive, powerful, and inspirational stories every week on TV, as well as online at jessopsjournal.com. Everyone has a story. Stories have power. They help us understand each other. With another entry into Jessop's Journal, I'm Doug Jessop.